Hey, I blinked hard, caught in that hazy space between sleep and freezing reality. Hey, you deaf, or just ignoring me? Boots scuffed against stone. I didn't need to look to know whose boots they were. Cheap leather polished to shine, laced in authority. Get up right now. I slowly sat up, stiff from the cold marble steps. The courthouse behind me loomed tall like a tombstone. I wasn't. My voice cracked. I wasn't doing anything. You were loitering, sleeping outside a courthouse. The officer scoffed. Figures, you people always drift where you don't belong. I looked up. He smirked. White guy, buzzcut, badge glinting, name tag. Brent. I was just trying to stay warm, man. Oh, so now I'm man, he snorted. Not my problem. You don't get to camp out here like you belong. I used to shut it. He waved a hand, disgusted. You smell like piss and bad decisions. Get your ass up before someone important sees you. He yanked me by the elbow. My shoulder popped from sleeping funny. I winced. You resisting? I stopped breathing. No. Then don't move. Like you are. The ride to the station was quiet except for the crackle of his radio and my slow breath fogging the window. You got a name? Brent asked flatly. Isaiah, he chuckled. Of course it is. They booked me fingerprints. Mugshot. I didn't flinch. I'd been colder than this before. The holding cell smelled like iron and bleach. A young guy with a clipboard and crooked tie walked in. Public defender, he said. Didn't give a name. You've been arrested before, right? I stared at the cement floor. He flipped a page. Loitering. Nothing violent. You just needed a place to sleep. I wasn't loitering. I said, okay. He nodded like he wasn't listening. Same thing again. No. He looked up. I met his eyes. I used to work here. Pause here. He blinked. You mean like custodial? No. Another pause. He scratched his chin, confused. What then? Law clerk. In the DAS office. He laughed. Actually laughed. No way. I still have the badge. He looked at me, and for the first time, he didn't know what to say. You don't believe me? I said. Honestly. No. You're in a jail cell, and that makes me a liar. It makes you look like one, he said. Look, man. I'm not trying to judge, but you already did. He sighed and leaned against the bars. Fine. Tell me your story. I shook my head. You already decided who I am, he shrugged. Suit yourself. I'll tell the judge you're not cooperating. I'm not here for your convenience. Well, you're not getting out with attitude either. I'm not trying to get out, I said. Quiet now. I'm just tired of not being seen. An hour later, Officer Brent strolled past my cell again, whistling. Got your lawyer yet? I didn't answer. He tapped the bars. Look, I don't hate you. I just don't like people wasting my time. You didn't have to arrest me. You didn't have to sleep on the courthouse steps. I didn't have anywhere else. He shrugged. Sounds like a you problem. I stared at him, long and slow. You really think you're better than me? Hey, he said, spreading his hands. I got a job. You got a record. I got a past. I said, there's a difference. He leaned in, voice lower. The only difference is I make the arrest and you ride in the back seat. I looked him dead in the eye. For now. He squinted. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't say anything. Yeah, he muttered. Didn't think so. He walked away. But I saw it, the twitch in his jaw. Like I'd left a thorn he couldn't shake loose. I sat back on the bench, knees to my chest, cold steel against my spine. A camera blinked red in the corner. No one here cared what I used to be, but soon, someone would. Asterisk. The courtroom buzzed like a crowded beehive, all eyes brushing past me like I was part of the furniture. Metal cuffs clinked against my wrists as I sat between two uniforms who smelled like coffee and stale ego. All rise. We all stood as the judge entered. I didn't look up. Case 0849B, State v. Isaiah Miller. Charged with loitering and resisting detainment. The court clerk's voice barely echoed before Officer Brent swaggered to the stand like he was auditioning for daytime TV, Your Honor. Brent began, voice bright. On the morning in question, I found Mr. Miller asleep on the courthouse steps. He turned, like a magician unveiling a trick. He said, and I quote, I used to work here. He chuckled. Thought that was pretty funny. Soft laughter rippled through the court like a cough no one bothered to hide. Objection. My public defender mumbled, too low for anyone to care. Brent kept going, told him to get up before someone important saw him. He got mouthy. I had to detain him for his own safety. Judge Harlow raised an eyebrow. Did Mr. Miller physically resist? Brent grinned. Didn't have to. His mouth did the job. I clenched my jaw. The judge turned to me. Mr. Miller, would you like to respond? I lifted my head, slow, like breaking the surface of a cold lake. My voice was dry. I wasn't loitering. I was surviving. A few quiet chuckles. One loud snort from the back. Brent leaned forward. You hear that? Surviving? Asleep on a state building. The judge didn't laugh. He just said, let him finish. Brent's grin faltered. With respect, Your Honor, this man is wasting your time. The judge looked at him. Just looked. That flat, heavy silence. Judges are trained to weaponize. Brent leaned back. I spoke again, voice steadier now. I didn't come there to make a scene. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I sat down and closed my eyes. For how long? The judge asked. I don't know, I said. Long enough to stop shaking. From what? The cold and everything else. A few people shifted in their seats, whispered. I heard someone say, still doesn't make it legal. I ignored them. I looked only at the judge. I was laid off 3 years ago. Eviction came fast. After that, you disappear in pieces. Your name gets smaller in other people's mouths. I paused. No one said, "How did he get here?" Just get him out. The judge nodded once. "And what about what you told Officer Brent? That I used to work here?" I gave a bitter smile. "That's true." Brent laughed. "Yeah, in what janitorial?" I looked at him for the first time. "No," I said. "Legal staff, DAS office, desk across from the old library, room, 3rd floor." The room hushed. Brent blinked. "You're lying." The judge cut in, voice low. "I recall the name. Mr. Miller interned in 2016 under Judge Geller's oversight." Brent froze. The courtroom did too. I looked back at Brent, but I wasn't wearing a tie this time, so I must be lying. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Funny thing about people like you," I added, calm. "You think we're invisible until we speak." My public defender cleared his throat like he just realized I could talk. "Your Honor, I move to dismiss these charges on grounds of wrongful profiling and non-violent circumstances." The judge stared at me longer than necessary, then nodded. "Motion taken under advisement. Recess for 20 minutes. He struck the gavel. We stood, but he didn't rise right away. As we turned to shuffle out, I heard him murmur low, almost under his breath, "You never should have ended up here." I don't know if I was meant to hear it, but I did. We sat in a narrow, windowless conference room. The walls were the color of dried toothpaste. I could still hear the echo of laughter from the courtroom outside. The public defender slouched, loosened tie, overconfident, flipped through a file with a sigh like I'd already lost. "Look, man," he said, not even looking at me. "I see people like you every day just plead. Loitering is nothing. Couple fines, maybe a week if the judge is grumpy." I tilted my head. "People like me." He finally looked up. "Yeah, you know what I mean." "No," I said. "I don't." He blinked, then gave that rehearsed lawyer half smile. "Come on, let's not play games." "You mean black?" His smile vanished. I leaned forward, voice low. "Or do you mean poor, or both?" I didn't mean. He started. "Hands up." "You meant it exactly like that." "No, I meant to look. It's not about race." I stared at him, hard. "Everything's about race when you can pretend it's not." He closed the file. "You're twisting my words." "No, I'm just not letting you hide behind them." A silence spread between us. Not awkward, just exposed. "You think I want to be here?" I asked. He exhaled. "No one wants to be here. I was in this building every day once." I said. "Suit, clean shave, clocked in before you finished college." He looked down, and now I added, "You're sitting across from me like I'm just another booking sheet." He tapped the folder. "Legally, that's what you are." That hit harder than it should have. I nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." Back in the hallway, Officer Brent leaned against the wall near another cop. Casual, relaxed, smirking. "Bet he steals the court water next," he muttered. The other guy snorted. "Maybe swipe a pen or two. Write his next resume on a napkin." They both laughed. I walked by. Didn't flinch. Didn't speak. "Careful," Brent called after me. "Might charge you with breathing too loud next." The other officer chuckled again. "Depends if he does it suspiciously." I turned around, calm. "You get off on this." Brent raised an eyebrow. "What? Breaking down people already on the ground?" He stepped forward, mock serious. "Don't get mad at me because life kicked your ass." "Life didn't," I said. "People did." He laughed. "You always talk this much or just when someone's listening?" "I only talk when silence lets cowards feel safe." His smile faded for half a second, just long enough for me to see it. "Enjoy court, counselor," he muttered, walking past. Back in the courtroom, my defender whispered, "You keep talking like that, and the judge might actually start liking you." "I'm not here to be liked." "Then what are you here for?" I looked around, for them to hear what they've never had to live through. He didn't respond. He just pulled his tie straight again, already shrinking from the heat of truth. Every hallway, every look, every voice I wasn't just on trial by law, was on trial by perception. By the size behind the glass. By the labels people tattoo on your skin with their stares. This wasn't about loitering. It never was. The bailiff appeared beside me without warning. "Judge wants to see you," he said in private. He nodded. Now, the courtroom blurred behind me as we walked. I kept my hands low, my face blank. The hallway was cold and quiet. Too many walls, too much silence. The judge's chamber door opened before we knocked. "Bring him in." Judge Harlow stood behind a desk stacked with files. He didn't look like he wanted to be there either. The bailiff left, door shut. Just the two of us now. I stayed standing. He folded his hands. "You remember me, don't you?" I stared at him. "Of course," I said. "You're my brother." A beat passed heavy. He sat slowly, but didn't say anything. I stepped closer. "You really weren't going to say anything in that courtroom, were you?" I had to stay impartial. I laughed. "Impartial? You watched me get mocked, chained, humiliated, and you stayed silent." "I'm a judge," he said. "You're my blood." I snapped. He looked away. Silence again. Different now. Not cold. Just fragile. He finally spoke. "I didn't recognize you at first." "No one does, when I'm not wearing a tie." He looked back at me. "You've changed." Sleeping on concrete'll do that. His jaw tightened. Why didn't you call me? I leaned forward. You cut me off, remember? After I called out Dad's legacy, after I said those scholarships he sponsored skipped every black student in our district. He didn't respond. He said I was disrespecting our name, that I was ungrateful. He closed his eyes. That was a different time. No, I said. That was last decade. He rubbed his temple. You always had to make things difficult. No, I said again, quieter. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. He stood abruptly, walking toward the bookshelf. This isn't the time to bring up family wounds. Then why'd you call me in here? I asked. He didn't answer. You saw them laughing, I continued. You saw them dragging me through this system like garbage. You saw it. Tan still said nothing. He turned. I couldn't risk being accused of bias. Then let me say it out loud so there's no confusion. You are biased. Against me. His voice dropped. Isaiah, you judged me a long time ago, not for what I did, but for who I chose to be. For not keeping quiet, for speaking out, for being black out loud. His eyes met mine, hard. That's not fair. It never was. He paced slowly, fingers tapping his side. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said. I just wanted you to see me again, the real me, not the mugshot, not the file. He looked down. You were brilliant back then. I still am, I said. But now, the only difference is I speak the truth even when it costs me everything. He swallowed. So what do I do now? I shrugged. That's not my job anymore. He nodded. Quiet. I have to get back, I said. He moved toward the door, but stopped before opening it. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. He turned the knob. I am, he repeated, softer. I looked him in the eyes one last time. Tell it to the bench, not me. And I walked out. The holding cell felt smaller today, like the air had been folded in on itself. Mine. If I sit, I looked up. Old guy, weathered hands, tired eyes, army jacket 3 sizes too big. Sure, I said. Not like there's a guest list. He slid down beside me with a groan. Name's Walter. Eyes up. He studied me. You military? No. He nodded anyway. You've got the eyes. Seen too much. Stayed quiet too long. I didn't reply. He leaned forward. Elbows on knees. They say you talked back to a cop in court. Got some spine on you. I shrugged. Didn't know speaking counted as a crime. He chuckled, but there was no humor in it. Tell me something, he said. What brought you here? Truth, not paperwork. I hesitated. Then I said it. My father built courthouses. Walter blinked. You're joking. No, I shook my head. He designed the one we're sitting under. Big plaques and white pillars. His name's carved into a stone outside. Walter whistled low. Damn, but he never saw me fit to stand. In one, I continued, unless I was behind a desk or behind bars. Walter looked down at his hands. That kind of father. I nodded. I was 16 when I told him I wanted to go into law. He laughed, said, we already have too many of you trying to prove something. You mean black? He never said it. I replied, but he didn't have to. Walter closed his eyes. Ain't that the truth? I leaned back against the wall, so I studied harder than everyone. Got an internship at the DAS office, earned everything. Still, he never came to see me work. Not once. What happened? He asked. I paused. I spoke out. Called out how his firm gave scholarships but never once to a black kid. Not one said it was NIT-based. I told him racism hides behind words like that. Walter let out a breath. And he cut you off. You had told me I'd embarrassed him. Said being grateful was more important than being right. He didn't respond right away. Then, they never see us till we're screaming. I looked at him and even then he whispered they blamed the echo. The sound of boots snapped me back. Brent appeared outside the bars, arms folded well deep in story time. I didn't answer. He tapped the metal with his button. You're really milking this, huh? Walter squinted. This the guy. Yup, I said. Brent pointed a finger. You know what your problem is. You want pity points. That's your whole act. I don't want pity, I said. Calmly, I want dignity. He snorted. You don't get both. I stood. No, I said. I don't get either, because guys like you get to decide who deserves what. Brent's smile thinned. I don't decide anything. You decided when you laughed at me on the stand. He waved me off. God, get over it. You were sleeping outside a courthouse that I used to work in. He rolled his eyes. Sure, that's your whole shtick, right? No, I said. My shtick is staying human in a system that keeps trying to strip me down to headlines and handcuffs. He didn't like that. His jaw twitched. Walter stood next to me now, quiet but present. Brent scoffed. You're nobody. You're not special. I don't need to be special, I replied. I just need to be seen. Brent stepped forward. People see you. That's the problem. You make noise like the world owes you something. No, I said. I make noise because I've been silenced too long. He didn't have a comeback. Just stared. Then turned and left. Walter sat back down. He hates that you don't flinch. I used to, I admitted. All the time he looked at me. What changed? I got tired of apologizing for existing. He smiled, sad and slow. It takes most men a lifetime to admit that. Later that night, the lights buzzed overhead like dying bees. I laid on the bench, eyes open. And in the silence I could still hear my father's voice. Gratitude makes a man respectable. But I finally had my reply. Truth makes a man free. The first sign something changed was the silence. Not the heavy, oppressive kind I'd gotten used to, but sharp, suspicious silence. The kind that follows truth when it's too loud to bury it out. My lawyer walked into the holding room with his tie straightened this time, lips pressed in a flat line. We need to talk, now. He didn't sit. I raised an eyebrow. You finally believe me? He didn't answer right away. Just pulled out his phone and tapped something. A video started playing. It was grainy. The angle tilted from Officer Brent's chest-mounted body cam. The audio was clear. Brent's voice found him drooling on the courthouse steps. Guy says he used to work here, get this, like some kind of ghost. Told him, nah, you're court furniture now. Then laughed at another officer's voice. Yet, folding chair with a pulse. The lawyer stopped the clip. Don't. My jaw didn't move. My heart didn't race. I just said, where did that come from? Anonymous leak, he muttered. Court security scrambling. Media might already have it. And the judge? He nodded. Saw it 20 minutes ago. A pause. Then he added, quieter. This changes things. I leaned forward. No, it reveals them. They moved me to a different room. Cleaner, quieter. Judge Harlow's private chambers again. He stood behind the desk, back straight, face blank, but not neutral. This footage, he said. I nodded. I saw it. He stared for a long time, then finally said, he was in this building longer than you've been alive. I blinked. Who, you? He said. His voice dropped to something just above a whisper. You were in this building longer than Brent ever was. I exhaled slowly. I thought silence kept me impartial. He added, turns out it kept me complicit. I didn't smile, but I saw the shift. You always had words, he said. Even when we were kids. I just never let myself hear them. I nodded once. Now the whole building has to. They didn't put Brent on duty that day, but he found me anyway. Lunch break. Downstairs hallway. Cold concrete walls. I was alone, or thought I was. He stepped out of a shadow like a cop in a movie. You set me up. I didn't even blink. You did that yourself. His nostrils flared. You think this is funny? No, I think it's familiar. He took a step closer. You waited. You knew someone would leak that. I knew truth never stays buried. Not forever. He laughed bitterly. You're acting like some kind of hero now. No, I said. I just stayed standing. He stared at me. This isn't over, he said. I tilted my head. You mean your career? Your image? Or just your ability to mock black men without a mic catching it? He flinched like I'd struck him. I'll sue, he spat. Defamation setup. Abuse of power. I stepped forward, close enough for him to feel my breath. You laughed at a man who had nothing. You called him furniture in the house he helped build. Now you're scared because that man didn't stay quiet. His lips parted, then closed. No comeback this time. I looked at him. Really looked. People like you, I said slowly. You're loud until the truth starts echoing. Then you run from your own voice. I turned to leave. Don't act like you're better than me, he snapped. I don't have to, I replied. You made that clear when you opened your mouth. Back in my cell, I didn't feel triumphant, just wet. It was like someone had finally named the ghost in the room and now it had no power left. Let's be real clear. The prosecutor whispered to my public defender, who sat too close beside me. We're trying to bury this quietly. Fireworks, no headlines. I leaned over before my attorney could speak for me. You think it's quiet when someone laughs at a man dying on the courthouse steps? I said evenly. Let's speak where everyone can hear. They didn't answer, just exchanged that look, the kind people use when the furniture starts talking back. The courtroom was full, press in the back. Officers lined along the wall. People I didn't know craning their necks as if they might recognize something in my face. I stood. Not because I had to, but because my voice sounded clearer when I did. The judge nodded at me, double quotes, Mr. Isaiah Harlow, would you like to make a statement before Officer Brent takes the stand? I stepped forward, hands loose at my sides. I'm not here to smear a man. I'm here to clean the record. For once, a pause. I was arrested for trying to stay warm near a building I once gave years of my life to, laughed at, mocked, called names I'd never heard in a courtroom, at least not out loud. I turned, just slightly, toward Brent. He was fidgeting, shifting in his chair like it was too small. But the worst thing, I continued, wasn't the cuffs. It wasn't the cold. It was hearing how easy it was for someone in uniform to turn me from a person into a punchline. I looked back to the judge. That's all I needed to say, for now. The judge nodded once. Thank you. They called Brent to the stand next. He looked shorter somehow. Not physically, just worn down. Like his badge weighed too much now. The prosecutor cleared his throat. Officer Brent, can you confirm this body cam footage is yours? Brent nodded yes. And you made these statements. He clicked a remote. The clip played. Just a few seconds. Found him drooling on the courthouse steps. Court furniture now. Brent looked down. Yes, and the phrase you people, did you say that too? Brent's eyes darted toward the press. It was a joke, he said quickly. Dark humor, stress. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. Stress from what? A sleeping man. Brent's mouth opened, closed. Then he looked dangerous. That was it. I didn't raise my voice, didn't flinch, just stood up again. Say it, I said. All eyes turned to me. I walked slowly forward. Say it plain, Officer Brent. I looked black. Silence. A woman in the back gasped. Brent swallowed. I didn't mean, but that's what you saw, isn't it? He looked to the judge. That's what you feared, I said softly. Not the man, the melanin. His lips trembled. I made a mistake. I looked at the judge, then back at Brent. No, I said, you made a choice. The judge leaned forward, voice low but solid. Mr. Brent. Brent turned, hopeful maybe. You are dismissed. Permanently. Brent blinked. From this case. From this bench. From this courtroom. From the force. Dead silence. No one moved. You mocked a citizen's suffering, Harlow said. You dehumanized a man who was once part of this institution. And you lied about it until your own voice betrayed you. Brent stood. You can't. Yes, I can, the judge said, cutting him off. And I just did. As Brent walked out, his shoes sounded heavier than before, like he carried every word behind them. I didn't smile, but I didn't look away afterward. As the room emptied, someone tapped my shoulder. A young intern, nervous. Couldn't have been more than 20. She whispered. Thank you for saying it out loud. I nodded. You think anything's going to change? She asked. I took a breath. Not overnight, I said, but sometimes truth just needs a microphone. And today it got one. She smiled. I hope I'm brave like that someday. I paused, then offered my hand. You already are, I told her. You just said it. On the record. Microphones flickered like flashbulbs outside the courthouse. The air smelled of stale coffee and hot pavement. I stood still in front of a dozen news vans. Not because I wanted to, but because silence, too, is a kind of surrender. A reporter stepped forward, young, clean suit, eyes already scanning for sound bites. Isaiah, he began, a little too brightly. After everything that happened in there today, what's your next move? I let the pause hang. Then they didn't see a person, they saw a headline waiting to fade. A few murmurs behind him. Pen scribbled, thumbs tapped record buttons. He cleared his throat. Do you think justice was served today? I tilted my head. Justice, I echoed. I think the truth got 5 minutes on a microphone. That's not justice. That's a start. He looked unsure. Then what do you want now? I looked past him, past the cameras, toward the place where I'd once worn a badge and walked hallways with pride. I want them to sit with what they said. I didn't wait for his next question. I stepped away. The hallway behind the courtroom was almost empty. Just one figure. At the end, back straight, robes loose around his shoulders. Judge Harlow didn't look at me when I approached. He just stared at the wall. At nothing. Finally he spoke. You were always the one who saw things clearly. I folded my arms. And you were always the one who looked away. He turned slowly. His voice was lower now, not courtroom command. Just human. I failed you. I leaned against the cold wall. You didn't fail me. You just finally saw me. He winced. Barely. I knew what they were saying about you, he murmured. I knew Brent lied, but you stayed silent. I said, not cruel, just honest. He nodded. I told myself it wasn't my place, that keeping quiet kept the court neutral. No, I said, it kept it comfortable. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. When Dad passed, I should have called. I didn't move. I thought you'd blame me, he said. I did, I admitted. A breath passed between us. Nothing moved, not even time. Then I said at the line I'd carried for years, tucked in the spaces where no one ever looked. You never saw me as human, but I always was. His eyes met mine. Tears didn't fall. That would have been too clean to cinematic. Instead, he just nodded once. I see you now. Outside, the courthouse doors creaked behind me. A breeze picked up. Some leaves scattered past my shoes. I thought of Dad's voice, of desks he built that I was never invited to sit behind, of family dinners I stopped getting called to, of laughter in precinct locker rooms that turned me into a joke. And I thought of the girl who whispered thank you yesterday, of the guard who held the elevator a little longer today, of the sound Brent's voice made when it broke in front, of truth. I didn't win, but I didn't vanish either. I spoke, I stayed human.